Okay, here we are on lesson 10. I love this one. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or become aware in the practice periods. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will do so again. You have no basis for comparison as yet. When you do, you will have no doubt that what you once believed were your thoughts did not mean anything. This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. The form is only slightly different. This time, the idea is introduced with my thoughts instead of these thoughts, and no link is made overtly with the things around you. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of what you think you think. This aspect of the correction process began with the idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless, outside rather than within, and then stressed their past rather than their present status. Now we are emphasizing that the presence of these thoughts means that you are not thinking. This is merely another way of repeating our earlier statement that your mind is really a blank. To recognize this is to recognize nothingness when you think you see it. As such, it is the prerequisite for vision. Close your eyes for these exercises and introduce them by repeating the idea for today quite slowly to yourself. Then add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. The exercises consist, as before, in searching your mind for all the thoughts that are available to you without selection or judgment. Try to avoid classification of any kind. In fact, if you find it helpful to do so, you might imagine that you are watching an oddly assorted procession going by, which has little, if any, personal meaning to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, my thought about blank does not mean anything. My thought about blank does not mean anything. Today's thought can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. In addition, 5 practice periods are recommended, each involving no more than a minute or so of mind searching. It is not recommended that this time period be extended, and it should be reduced to half a minute or less if you experience discomfort. Remember, however, to repeat the idea slowly before applying it specifically, and also to add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So, again, another powerful and important lesson here. My thoughts do not mean anything. And I know that this additional phrase that the Course is offering us today, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe, might feel a little disconcerting. It might feel like, well, I like what I believe. I believe in goodness. I believe in justice. I believe in being kind and loving. The Course is not asking you to change necessarily the essence of who you are. It's inviting you to change your thoughts because all perception is your thought about what something is or should be. So my thoughts do not mean anything. When you go into the practice period, closing your eyes, searching your mind, my thoughts about whatever, my inadequacy, my procrastination, um, his messiness, her frustration, whatever. My house is messy. My thoughts about the house do not mean anything. The Course is saying that when you are not thinking the thoughts of love, you are actually not thinking at all. You are hallucinating. That's coming from the text, which is really the intellectual framework for this material. But in the case of our lesson today, it's simply an invitation to say, my thoughts do not mean anything, to give ourselves some distance. I also really appreciate the Course here saying, why don't you just observe this as if it was some kind of procession? And we do that in the yoga classes a lot. When we sit down to meditation at the end, I'll invite everyone to say, just observing your thoughts as if they are frames in a movie, their pictures, the old kind of films where there was each picture, just watching your thoughts go by. And when we do this, it's training us to be the observer, to simply observe the thoughts rather than going into the thoughts. In the Yoga Sutras and yogic philosophy, it talks about how the first sutra says, now is the time for yoga. And yoga is defined as unity, as oneness. So now is the time for unity. And unity is achieved by stopping the way the mind turns. That's the second one. And the third sutra, or frame of wisdom here, is saying, because when I do that, I get to abide in my own nature. And then the fourth one, which is similar here to the Course, is saying, because if I don't do that, I take on the modifications of the mind. I believe I am the mind. Because thoughts precede feelings, if I think my thoughts are real and they mean something, my thoughts about how unjust A, B, and C are, then I must become the feelings associated with those thoughts. But if I practice observation and I allow myself even a few moments every day to say that these thoughts don't mean anything, then I create distance from those feelings. And really, the Course's goal is to establish us in the curriculum of love. So, in that sense, it's dismantling our thought system based in fear and reestablishing us in love. So, that spaciousness, that ability to be the observer is super, super important here. So happy practicing. Maybe you take down some notes, journal a little bit about your lesson today. But overall, especially when you're feeling distressed by anything or upset about anything, say to yourself, these thoughts do not mean anything. And this idea will help to release me from all that I believe now. It offers us the opportunity to become the blank canvas once again, rather than the one that has been painted on. We talk about this in the yoga off the mat training, that we have our authentic self and we have our adapted personalities. And we have become adapted because we have subscribed and believed that our thoughts mean something. So this is just kind of a spring cleaning. Let's clear up some of these thoughts. They don't mean anything. And let's let what does mean something come to the surface. Many blessings.